Welcome back. Stunning victory in Texas. AG Ken Paxton beat out incumbent Senator John Cornyn in the state's GOP primary runoff, marking another successful endorsement from President Trump. This year's primary election season has seen the president triumphing in his choices, including 9 Senate candidates, 101 House candidates, and 8 gubernatorial candidates. Paxton wasted no time in directing his attention to his far-left Democrat opponent come November, James Tallarico. Watch.
My opponent is the most extreme radical the Democrats have ever nominated. James Tallarico is a threat to everything we hold dear in this state and in this country. He's a threat to our security and our safety. He wants open borders. He's a threat to our children. He wants boys and girls sports. Gender mutilation surgery performed on kids. He's a threat to our very way of life and our values.
Joining me now is Montana Congressman Ryan Zinke. Congressman, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. So we know who the candidate will be now on the GOP side in Texas. Can Paxton beat James Tallarico?
100%. You know, and never, you know, underestimate the power of Donald J. Trump. You know, things in the past, I don't think they really are a prediction of the future, Maria. You know, you have a president that is very forceful. He's divisive sometimes on his delivery, but his policies, I think, are spot on. And in Texas, it is a red state, and it will be Senator Paxton.
How is he going to operate without the support of the machine in Texas and in Washington? I mean, the Senate leadership was firmly behind John Cornyn. And I asked Ken Paxton this very question when he joined me last week before the primary. Watch this. Can you win this without the support of the Republican machine, which will be supporting the Republican incumbent, AG?
Yeah, look, I think we're going to unite after this primary is over. Look, the state of Texas has gone Republican since 1994. We haven't had a single statewide official that's Democrat. I am very confident James Tallarico, who is very young, has not very much experience, has not accomplished anything, has said so many things that do not fit the values of Texas that are more like California. And maybe he'd even have trouble getting elected in California. But once we expose his actual beliefs and what he's actually said, I think there's zero chance that James Tallarico wins this race.
So what are you thinking, Congressman, in terms of the support that the Republicans will be giving Ken Paxton, or lack of?
You know, I think Ken Paxton is absolutely right. I think the support's going to cross that. I think largely it already has in an election. You look at the numbers, it wasn't as close as people thought. And quite frankly, John Cornyn's a good man. But I can tell you the candidate the Democrats have put forward does not represent Texas. And I think Ken's assessment is correct. I think there will be a cross-check. If there isn't it already, but you know, you have to fight for these battles. You know, every inch matters. The House is going to be close. I think the Senate will be, you know, Democrat or Republican, no doubt, but it won't be as close as the House. But I think both remember, you know, Donald J. Trump is so different. His policies. I think the Iranian war will end shortly. Gas prices will go down to somewhere between 65 and 70. I think that's probably the sweet spot. And the economy will start humming, and his policies, once again, I think, speak for him.
All right, let's talk about the business at hand, because I know you and your colleagues are trying to get this immigration funding bill back on track after the GOP reconciliation bill, I feel, was derailed last week. Am I right to say derailed? I mean, the president's $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund became an issue on Capitol Hill, and the senators left without getting it to the president's desk. He wants it there by June 1st. But the anti-weaponization fund is aiming to establish a formal process for Americans who claim they were targeted through politically motivated actions under previous administrations. An internal memo from the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee is accusing Republicans, meanwhile, of political malpractice for pushing this immigration reconciliation bill because you're funding immigration through reconciliation, Congressman. Unfortunately, the Democrats have forced you to do that, use a reconciliation for appropriations, which would be regular, normal business.
Well, you remember 11 out of the 12 appropriation bills did pass. We're not in government shutdown except a small portion of the DHS. And I do think ultimately it will solve itself. Remember, DHS is just not ICE. It's the Coast Guard. It's a lot of backside support with it. They are being paid right now, but they're going to run out of money if Congress doesn't do anything. And unfortunately, Congress doesn't do much until Congress has to. And the hiccups last week, I think you're right, $1.8 billion of a settlement fund, plus you have the reconstruction of the East Wing. Both those are added to the plate. I think there's probably some security that Congress will pay for the ballroom. There will be some private funds on that. And ultimately, we're going to have to make sure that DHS is paid for up front. Look, we have the Olympics coming up. We have the soccer, World Finals coming up. There's a lot of going on, and we need DHS on the front line.
Mm-hmm. Senate Finance Committee Democrats, meanwhile, are calling for a hearing on that anti-weaponization fund. Bipartisan House lawmakers introducing legislation to limit it or eliminate it entirely, Congressman. What's the problem with the anti-weaponization fund?
Well, when you look at it, is it a slush fund to pay for Trump's allies? I would say it's a fund to pay for people that were wronged by the government. But I would imagine there'll be some sideboards and controls on it to make sure it doesn't have the appearance or actual slush fund of just simply the president's friends. So there'll be sideboards on it. I think the settlement, though, there was a settlement, and the settlement was based on a much, much larger case, which the president probably would have won, quite frankly, with it. So, again, I think there's going to be sideboards on it, and Congress will actually do our job and make sure DHS is funded for the summer. And I think the war is coming close.
All right.
The
war's coming close, meaning you think it'll be over soon? You think it'll be over soon, Congressman?
Well, I think the president is rock solid on the three big things. One is Iran is not going to have a nuclear weapon. Secondly, they're not going to have nuclear material. And third, they're not going to have an arsenal for destruction. And quite frankly, even Thomas Jefferson sent the Navy to make sure we had freedom of navigation. And the Hormuz Strait is freedom of navigation. It is international waters. And I can tell you, the United States Navy is going to defend it.
Congressman, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much. We'll be watching all of that. Ryan Zinke this morning.
Always a pleasure.
We'll be right back.